On December 6, 2025, at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, Luis Suarez did something nobody expected. He didn't score the winning goal. He didn't lift the cup first. He did something much bigger. He remained seated on the bench throughout the entire MLS Cup final, applauding every play from a 19-year-old kid named Mateo Silvetti. Can you imagine? Inter Miami's historic goalscorer, Messi's inseparable friend, the Uruguayan striker who came to break nets, chose to stay silent while another wrote history. And Messi, from the field, looked toward the bench with a smile that said more than 1,000 words. This is Inter Miami's legacy, and today you're going to understand why this gesture forever changes the club's future. But before you think this was an easy decision, let me tell you something. There were tears, private conversations, and a brutal gamble by Javier Mascherano that could have blown up in his hands. In this video you're going to discover 3 things. First, Luis Suarez's noblest gesture that secured Inter Miami's future. Second, how Messi and Suarez are building a family of invisible champions away from cameras. And finally, confirmation that when Messi retires, this team will no longer depend solely on him. Stay until the end of the video and you'll understand why. Because every minute of this story has layers that didn't appear in any sports headline. The final nobody saw coming. The final against Vancouver Whitecaps ended 3-1, with Inter Miami lifting its first MLS Cup under the pink stadium lights. The camera focused on Lionel Messi raising the trophy alongside Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba, the 3 Barcelona friends closing a golden circle. But if you looked closely, in the celebration there was someone else embracing that cup with the same emotion. Mateo Silvetti, the Argentine forward who's barely old enough to vote, with eyes full of tears and his pink jersey soaked with sweat. That kid had played the last 4 playoff games as an undisputed starter, displacing Luis Suarez from the starting 11, a man with over 500 goals in his professional career. How did we get here? The answer begins weeks earlier, in a decision Mascherano made knowing it could cost him the locker room. During the regular season, Suarez had been the offensive leader, dragging the team forward with his characteristic grit. But Mascherano, the same man who fought 1,000 battles alongside Messi for Argentina's national team, noticed something the numbers didn't show. The team ran more when Silvetti was on the field. Spaces opened differently. Messi received the ball in better conditions because the kid's movement disrupted defenses accustomed to marking the experienced Uruguayan. It was a tactical gamble, but also an emotional one. Would Luis be willing to take a step back for the collective good? The conversation happened privately, away from MLS season pass cameras, in a Chase Stadium office where only Mascherano, Suarez, and Messi were present. Nobody has revealed exactly what those 3 world champions said to each other, those 3 warriors who had shared locker rooms at Barcelona and in the Uruguayan and Argentine national teams. But what happened afterward speaks louder than any official statement. Suarez accepted the substitute role, and not just that. He became Silvetti's closest mentor, the one who advised him before each match, who celebrated his goals as if they were his own, who protected him from media pressure with the wisdom of someone who's lived 38 years in professional football. How many strikers of that caliber would have reacted with that level of humility? The kid who changed everything. Mateo Silvetti isn't unknown to those who follow Argentina's lower divisions. He arrived at Inter Miami from Talleres de Cordoba's youth divisions, with 21st division matches and the hunger of a kid who grew up watching Messi on television. He's 6 feet tall, has explosive speed in the first 10 meters and, according to the club's physical performance data, covers more distance in high pressing than any other striker on the roster. He doesn't have Suarez's experience, nor his goal-scoring instinct in the small box, nor that ability to appear at the exact moment. What he has is youth, quick recovery between matches, and absolute devotion to learning from the 2 legends beside him. During training sessions before the final, leaked images on social media showed something uncommon: Suarez and Messi explaining movements to Silvetti at midfield. It wasn't standard technical training. It was a private class where the 2 best South American forwards of the last decade transmitted secrets that aren't in any tactical manual. How to read a center-back's body language. When to cut into space and when to stay to receive. How to use your body to protect the ball without committing a foul. The kid listened with wide eyes, taking mental notes of every word, every gesture, every correction. In those moments, under the Florida sun, something bigger than a simple generational change was cooking. A heritage was being built. But this process wasn't instantaneous or easy. Mid-season, when Inter Miami lost the CONCACAF Champions Cup semi-final to Vancouver, Mascherano received brutal criticism. Uruguayan media questioned why Suarez didn't play the full 90 minutes. ESPN tactical analysts argued the team needed more experience in decisive moments. Even some fans at Chase Stadium booed when they saw Silvetti warming up instead of the Uruguayan during a key match against Columbus Crew. The pressure was so intense that rumors circulated, never officially confirmed, that some veteran players had expressed doubts about the Argentine coach's strategy. Was Mascherano sacrificing the present for an uncertain future? The playoffs answered everything. The answer came in the playoffs. Inter Miami eliminated Atlanta United in the first round, then destroyed Orlando City in the conference semifinals, and finally overcame Cincinnati to reach the grand final. In those 7 decisive matches, Silvetti scored 3 goals and provided 2 assists. More importantly, the team showed a physical intensity they didn't have in the regular season, pressing high for 90 full minutes, recovering balls in the opponent's half, punishing with quick transitions. The distance covered per match numbers skyrocketed. The starting 11's average age dropped 4 years. And Messi, freed from having to drop back so much to help with pressing, could concentrate on what he does best, appearing in decisive moments with that magic that seems to defy the laws of physics. If you subscribe to the channel right now, you won't miss any in-depth analysis of what this Inter Miami is building for next season, because what's coming is historic. Luis Suarez lived that process from the bench, but not as a resentful player but as a father watching his son grow. Cameras caught him at various moments, shouting instructions from the sideline, jumping to celebrate the team's goals, embracing Silvetti when he was substituted. In the final against Vancouver, when the kid scored the night's second goal with a perfect header following Jordi Alba's cross, Suarez was the first to rise from the bench to applaud, with that huge smile that has always characterized the Uruguayan. There was no bitterness in that gesture. There was genuine pride. There was understanding that football is bigger than any individual ego. There was a life lesson that few elite athletes are willing to give. The hidden strategy. Now comes the part almost nobody knows, the detail that explains why this story is different from any other generational transition you've seen in modern football. Because this wasn't just a tactical decision by Mascherano. It was a joint decision, consensual, orchestrated by the project's 3 thinking heads: Mascherano, Messi, and Suarez. All 3 understood something fundamental that many clubs forget in their obsession with winning now. True legacy isn't measured in immediate titles, but in the structure you leave when you go. And the strong part is that this is just beginning. The easy version of this story would say Suarez lost his spot due to age, that at 38 he no longer has the legs to compete at maximum level, that it's the natural end of a brilliant career. That version sounds logical. It's comfortable. And it's incomplete. The reality is much more interesting and reveals a team philosophy that could change how sporting projects are built in MLS. Suarez finished the 2025 season with 22 goals in all competitions, being Inter Miami's second highest scorer only behind Messi. His effectiveness numbers in the box didn't drop. His ability to generate goal-scoring chances remained intact. Physically, although he had lost some top speed, his tactical intelligence compensated for any athletic deficit. It wasn't an individual performance problem that led him to the bench. It was a reading of the team's moment, a collective understanding that Inter Miami needed to evolve from being the team of stars to being the team that developed stars. That difference, though subtle on paper, is gigantic in practice. Sustainable football. During the regular season, Mascherano had experimented with different formations. He tried a classic 4-3-3 with Suarez at 9 and Messi floating behind. He tried a 4-4-2 diamond with both forwards together. He attempted a system with 3 center-backs to give more offensive freedom. Each variant had virtues, but none resolved the fundamental problem. In matches of maximum physical demand, against opponents who pressed high and ran non-stop for 90 minutes, Inter Miami suffered in the second half. The veterans started brilliantly but faded after the 60th minute. Substitutions came late. Matches were decided in the final 20 minutes, precisely when the team was most vulnerable. Silvetti changed that equation not because he was technically better than Suarez, but because he offered something different: sustainability. He could press with the same intensity in the 85th minute as in the 5th minute. His youth allowed him to recover quickly between matches, something crucial in playoffs where you play every 3 or 4 days. And perhaps more importantly, his presence forced the entire team to adapt to a more dynamic style, more vertical, more dependent on collective movement than on star individualities. It was a bet on the future, yes, but also on a more balanced present. Messi understood this before anyone. In statements following the final, though without going into specific details, the Argentine captain mentioned that the team found a balance we didn't have before. Those words, apparently simple, hid a deeper truth. Messi has played with the world's best forwards: Eto'o, Villa, Pedro, Suarez at Barcelona, Mbappe and Neymar in Paris. He knows perfectly what he needs beside him to shine. And if he backed the change, if he was part of that private conversation where Silvetti's future was decided, it's because he saw something in that kid that goes beyond numbers. He saw hunger. He saw willingness. He saw someone willing to sacrifice himself for the collective. He saw, perhaps, a reflection of himself when he was young and arrived at Barcelona's first team surrounded by legends. More than football, Silvetti's transformation under Messi and Suarez's tutelage hasn't been just about football. It's been mental. In recent interviews, the young forward has talked about how Suarez helps him handle media pressure, how he teaches him not to read negative comments on social media, how he reminds him that one bad match doesn't define a career. Messi, meanwhile, works with him on more technical aspects: oriented control, decision-making in the final third, patience to wait for the exact moment before releasing the pass or shot. These are lessons you don't learn in youth academies. These are lessons that can only be transmitted by those who've been at the absolute pinnacle of the sport. But here's where the story takes a turn that changes the entire narrative of Inter Miami and its future. Because Silvetti isn't the only young player being molded by this group of veterans. Rocco Rios Novo, the 22-year-old Argentine goalkeeper, took the spot from Drake Callender during the playoffs after learning directly from Mascherano's instructions. Tomás Avilés, 23-year-old center-back, consolidated himself as a starter after weeks training body-to-body with Sergio Busquets, who before retiring transmitted positioning and game-reading secrets to him. David Ruiz, the 24-year-old Honduran midfielder, has grown exponentially playing alongside Messi and absorbing his game vision like a sponge. This pattern isn't coincidence. It's intentional design. Inter Miami is building something no other MLS team has attempted with this depth. A true accelerated training school where the best players in history transmit their knowledge directly to the next generation. Not in seminars. Not in motivational talks. On the field, in training, in private locker room conversations, in the tense moments of decisive matches. It's elite football education in real time. The contract nobody talked about. And here's the detail nobody connected until now: the invisible factor that explains why this project goes far beyond winning immediate titles. When Messi signed his renewal through 2028 last October, one of the least publicized clauses in the contract included his explicit commitment to developing the club's young talents. It wasn't just an administrative detail. It was a statement of intent. Messi, at 38, with everything won in football, chose to stay 3 more years not just to play, but to build something that endures when he's no longer there. That's the difference between a legendary player and a true transformational leader. Now think about this. When Messi retires in 2028, Inter Miami will have a roster where Silvetti will be 23 with 4 complete seasons of experience playing alongside the greatest of all time. Rios Novo will be 26 and will be one of the league's most tactically trained goalkeepers. Avilés, Ruiz, and several other young players arriving at the club will have years of direct learning with world champions. It won't be a traumatic transition where the team collapses, losing its star. It'll be a natural transition where the next generation is already ready because they were prepared by the best. That's the true genius of what's happening in Miami. They're not simply winning with stars. They're using those stars to build a sustainable system. And Luis Suárez, by accepting his new role, became the key piece of that system, not for what he does on the field, but for what he represents off it: humility, generosity, vision for the future. The culture of learning. But there's a silent factor that makes all this possible, an element that doesn't appear in statistics or tactical analyses, but is the true glue of this project. And it's something that has to do with how winning cultures are built, how values are transmitted beyond technical skills, how a group of people decides to prioritize the collective over individual ego in a sport that usually celebrates exactly the opposite. The answer lies in how these players understand legacy. For Messi, legacy isn't just how many Ballon d'Ors he won or how many records he broke. It's what he left in every place he played. At Barcelona, he transformed a generation. With Argentina's national team, he gave the country the World Cup they'd waited 36 years for. In Paris, though the project didn't work as expected, he left lessons about professionalism and adaptation. Now in Miami, his legacy will be different. It'll be educational, formative, foundational. It'll be proof that a club can build greatness not just by buying stars, but by creating an environment where young stars can flourish under legends' guidance. Suarez understands this perfectly because he lived something similar at Liverpool and Barcelona. At Liverpool, Steven Gerrard took him under his wing when he arrived from Ajax and helped him adapt to English football. At Barcelona, Messi wasn't just his teammate, but his teacher in tactical aspects that transformed his game. Now, in the final stage of his career, Suarez has the opportunity to return that favor, to be for Silvetti what others were for him. And he's doing it with a generosity that speaks to his character more than any spectacular goal. Video sessions are where this becomes most evident. After training, Suarez stays with Silvetti reviewing plays, analyzing movements, discussing decisions. He shows him clips from his own matches, not to brag, but to teach. Look here how I anticipate the defender. Notice how I use my arm to create space without fouling. Here I waited one more second before turning, and that gave me the angle. These are microscopic details that mark the difference between being a good forward and being a world-class forward. And Silvetti absorbs every word like pure gold, because he knows he's receiving an education no money can buy. Messi does the same, but differently. He doesn't talk as much. He prefers to demonstrate. During finishing drills, he positions himself next to Silvetti and executes the same exercise, allowing the kid to observe every detail. Body position, foot angle, the exact point where he strikes the ball, how he adjusts according to the goalkeeper's position. Then it's Silvetti's turn to try, and Messi observes silently, corrects with a gesture, nods when he does it well. It's silent but powerfully effective mentorship. The kid is learning not just by watching Messi videos on YouTube like any fan, but by being 2 meters away, seeing in real time how the world's best prepares each movement. The changing destination. This constant learning environment has transformed Inter Miami's locker room culture. Young players don't arrive with the attitude of, "I've made it to the first team." They arrive knowing they're at a football university where the professors are world champions. There's respect, there's hierarchy, but there's also accessibility. Messi isn't an unreachable figure. Suarez isn't a bitter veteran. Busquets, before retiring, and Alba openly shared their knowledge. Rodrigo De Paul, who joined permanently after the title, brings that same mentality from Argentina's national team. All for one. The results of this philosophy go beyond football. Inter Miami has become an attractive destination for young South American talents not just because of Florida's climate or the club sponsors, but because they know they'll have a real opportunity to learn from the best. Player agents from Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil are constantly calling the club's management because their clients want what Silvetti has: direct access to Messi's mastermind and Suarez's grit. That's priceless in the market. That can't be obtained at any other team in the world right now. When Silvetti scored that header goal in the final, the entire stadium exploded. But if you listened carefully, there was one shout that stood out above all: Luis Suárez from the bench. The cameras didn't focus on him at that exact moment, but the field microphones caught it. A shout of genuine joy, of paternal pride, of satisfaction from seeing that his work as a mentor was bearing fruit at the most important moment. That shout summarizes this entire story. It summarizes what it means to put ego aside. It summarizes what it means to build a real legacy. What comes next? Now the question is, what's next? Because Inter Miami just won its first major title, but the project is barely beginning. Busquets and Alba already retired after the final, fulfilling their promise to close their careers with one last title alongside Messi. That leaves spaces in midfield and defense. It leaves leadership vacancies. And here's where the real test arrives. Can this mentorship system work without two of its pillars? Can Rodrigo De Paul fill that experience void left by the two Spanish world champions? Are the young players truly ready to take the next step? Javier Mascherano has those answers. In a press conference following the title, the Argentine coach left a phrase that went unnoticed among the celebrations. "This title is important, but what we built is more important than any cup." He wasn't being modest. He was being literal. Mascherano knows that coaching Messi and winning titles is what everyone expects. But his true legacy as a coach will be demonstrating that he created a structure where Inter Miami can keep winning even when Messi is no longer there. That's the real challenge. That's the long-term bet. And it all started with a difficult decision: benching Luis Suárez. A decision that could have exploded into 1,000 pieces, that could have divided the locker room, that could have ended in conflict and resentment. But it didn't. And it didn't because the three men involved, Mascherano, Messi, and Suarez, understood something fundamental. Great teams aren't built protecting egos, they're built protecting the future. And Inter Miami's future has a name the whole world now knows: Mateo Silvetti. But it also has other names you'll soon hear: Rios Novo, Aviles, Ruiz, and several more arriving at a club that's no longer just a golden retirement destination for European stars, but a true talent factory guided by the best possible teachers. If you haven't liked the video by now, this is the perfect moment, because what's coming in the second part will connect all these points in a way that will leave you thinking for days. The true meaning of legacy. Legacy, in the end, isn't what you achieve for yourself. It's what you allow others to achieve because of you. Luis Suárez understood this when he accepted that embrace with Silvetti under Chase Stadium's lights. Messi understood it when he signed through 2028, committing himself to developing young players. And Mascherano understood it when he made the most unpopular decision of his coaching career, knowing it was correct for the future. Those three men, with different stories and paths, converged in Miami to write a chapter that hadn't been written before in American football. How you build a dynasty not with money but with wisdom, not with purchases but with teaching, not with individualities but with a family that takes care of each other. And that family is just beginning to show what it's capable of. Because what you saw in 2025 was just the prologue. But there are three more players who will change the project's narrative in 2026, and their names still don't resonate in international media. They still don't have million-dollar contracts. They still don't appear on magazine covers. But inside Chase Stadium, in training sessions closed to the public, Messi and Suarez work with them with the same obsessive dedication they show with Silvetti. Because the plan was never to create a single star. The plan was to create a complete system where each position has an heir prepared, mentalized, hungry. The next generation. Benjamín Cremaschi, a 21-year-old American midfielder of Argentine origin, has been personally molded by Sergio Busquets throughout the entire 2025 season before the Spaniard's retirement. Every training session was a private class about positioning, about how to read passing lanes, about when to break lines with a filtered ball and when to maintain possession safely. Busquets saw something special in him: the tactical patience of a player who understands the game as a geometry problem, not just about speed. When Busquets announced his retirement after the final, he left a direct message in the locker room that several witnesses confirmed without giving exact details: the number 5 already has an owner. He was referring to Cremaschi. He was referring to the legacy he had just handed over. Facundo Farías, a 22-year-old Argentine winger who arrived mid-season from Colón de Santa Fe, has been Jordi Alba's personal project. The Spanish fullback transmitted all his knowledge about off-ball runs, about timing in attacking runs, about how to generate numerical superiority on the wings. Farías has the dribbling ability Inter Miami will need when they want to attack from outside, when they need to vary their play and not depend solely on the midfield. During Alba's final training sessions before retiring, club footage showed the Spaniard running alongside the young winger, correcting running angles, teaching when to make the diagonal movement inward to open space. It was a farewell, yes, but it was also a heritage being transferred. And then there's Federico Redondo, a 21-year-old Argentine midfielder and son of legendary Fernando Redondo, who arrived at Inter Miami with the weight of a historic surname and the pressure to prove he's not just the son of. Rodrigo De Paul, recently confirmed as a permanent signing after the title, has taken him under his immediate protection. De Paul knows that pressure perfectly because he too had to build his own name in Argentine football before exploding in Europe. The conversations between them go beyond tactics. They talk about managing expectations, building character, how to survive mentally when you carry a surname everyone recognizes. Redondo has the technical conditions to be extraordinary. De Paul is making sure he also has the mental fortitude. It's not coincidence, and now you'll see why these three names matter as much as Silvetti's for the club's immediate future. Because when Messi looks around in 2026, he won't see tired veterans trying to keep up with him. He'll see young players who already know exactly how he plays, who understand his movements, who anticipate his needs on the field. He'll see a team designed to maximize his final career years without him having to carry all the weight on his shoulders like he had to do so many times in Paris or even in some moments of Barcelona's final years. The transformation. The difference between Inter Miami of 2023 and 2026 is abysmal. When Messi arrived in summer 2023, he found a team last in the table, disorganized, without clear identity. It was a project that depended completely on him. Every important play had to go through his feet. Every offensive responsibility fell on his ability to solve problems. It was physically and mentally exhausting. But now, after 2.5 years of systematic work, Inter Miami has structure, has depth, has programmed future. Messi is no longer the solitary savior. He's the leader of an orchestra where every musician knows exactly which note to play. The easy version of this story would tell you Inter Miami is doing what all big clubs do: signing young prospects and putting them to train with the stars, hoping some of that magic sticks by osmosis. That version sounds reasonable. It's what Manchester City does with its academy. It's what Real Madrid attempts with its young Brazilians. It's the European model applied to MLS. Sounds logical, right? The reality is completely different and much more radical. What's happening in Miami isn't a traditional youth development program. It's a direct generational knowledge transfer without filters, without intermediaries, without youth coaches interpreting the stars' lessons. It's Messi personally teaching Cremaschi where to stand when the team has the ball in 3/4 of the field. It's Suarez dedicating 30 minutes after training to explain to Silvetti why he chose that specific movement in the final instead of another. It's De Paul taking Redondo to breakfast to talk about how to handle social media pressure. There are no intermediaries. There's no translation. It's pure, direct, undiluted knowledge. And that has consequences that go far beyond improving technical skills. These young players are absorbing winning mentality in its most concentrated form. They're seeing how Messi prepares for an important match, what he eats, how he sleeps, how he manages his emotions, how he recovers after a defeat. They're observing how Suarez converts the frustration of being on the bench into fuel to help the team from another role. They're learning from De Paul how to be the soldier who runs for everyone, who presses tirelessly, who never lowers his arms even when the scoreboard is against you. Those lessons aren't taught in any youth academy in the world because they require living alongside legends in moments of maximum pressure. Proof in the playoffs. The practical result of this was seen in the playoffs. While other MLS teams collapsed in decisive moments due to lack of experience or mental exhaustion, Inter Miami remained serene. The young players weren't scared when Vancouver pressed them in the final. They didn't freeze when they had to resolve complex situations. They played with veterans' confidence because they had spent months training and living with authentic world champions who transmitted that tranquility to them. It's impossible to measure that with statistics, but anyone who watched those matches noticed something different in Miami's attitude. They noticed maturity where there shouldn't be any according to the players' ages. Now imagine that effect multiplied by 2 more years. Imagine Cremaschi having 1,000 more training sessions with Messi before the Argentine retires. Imagine Farías learning for 2 complete seasons from De Paul and Messi himself. Imagine Redondo consolidating as a starter while still having daily access to the mastermind of the best player in history. By the time Messi hangs up his boots in 2028, these kids won't be prospects. They'll be players trained at the most exclusive football university that has ever existed. If you share this video right now with someone who truly loves football, you'll be showing them something that will never be repeated in this sport: the culture of no egos. But the factor nobody mentions, the silent element that makes all this transformation possible, has to do with how Inter Miami has built an environment where ego doesn't exist. In locker rooms full of stars, the most common problem isn't lack of talent. It's ego clashes. It's destructive internal competition. It's the inability to accept secondary roles. Inter Miami solved that problem almost miraculously, and the key lies in who leads that locker room. Lionel Messi, a guy who despite being the best of all time has never had a problematic ego. Who has always prioritized winning over shining individually. Who has never needed to be the center of media attention to feel validated. That attitude from Messi sets the tone for everything. When the planet's best player arrives early to training, stays late practicing free kicks, doesn't complain when he's brutally fouled, and celebrates his teammates' goals with the same emotion as his own, he's sending a clear message to the rest of the team. He's saying without words, there's no space for egos here. There's space for work, for humility, for the collective. And when Luis Suárez, with the career he has, accepts being a substitute and does it with a smile, that message is amplified 1,000 times. The young players see that and immediately understand how this place works. They understand that respect is earned with attitude, not with contracts or social media followers. Javier Mascherano has been fundamental in maintaining that culture. He's known Messi since Argentina's youth categories. They played together on the national team for years. He knows perfectly how Leo's mind works, what he needs to perform at maximum level, how to protect him without making it seem like he receives special treatment. And he uses that knowledge to structure everything around a delicate balance, giving Messi ideal conditions to shine while simultaneously building a team that doesn't depend solely on him. It's an act of tactical and psychological juggling that few coaches could execute. The real test begins. Mascherano's decisions during the 2025 season were constantly questioned until he won the title. They criticized him for rotating too much in the regular season. They criticized him for giving minutes to young players in important matches. They criticized him for benching Suarez. They criticized him for losing the League's Cup and CONCACAF Champions Cup. But he stayed the course because he knew he was building something bigger than immediate results. He was building a team that could compete in 2026 and 2027, not just in 2025. And when he lifted the MLS Cup, all those criticisms evaporated instantly. So that's it, right? A champion team, young players in development, Messi happy, perfect locker room environment. Everything solved. Well, no. Because the Real Challenge begins now, in 2026, when Inter Miami faces completely different expectations than in 2025. Now they're the defending champions. Now all rivals will study them closely. Now every match will be a battle because everyone will want to be the team that dethrones Miami. And on top of that, comes the 2026 World Cup in summer, which means Messi, De Paul, and other international players will miss crucial weeks of the season to play with their national teams. Can the team survive without Messi for an entire month? That's the question that will define whether this project is truly sustainable or if it still depends too much on a single person. We'll see the answer in the upcoming pre-season. Inter Miami confirmed days ago its 2026 Champions Tour, a tour through South America where they'll face Alianza Lima in Peru on January 24th, Atlético Nacional in Colombia on January 31st, and Barcelona SC in Ecuador on February 7th. They didn't choose those opponents randomly. They're physical, aggressive teams that play in stadiums with altitude or extreme heat, with hostile crowds that pressure from the stands. They're exactly the type of environment that will prepare Miami's young players for what's coming in MLS and, more importantly, for that month without Messi when he's with Argentina at the World Cup. Mascherano is deliberately taking his team to hell. He could have organized a comfortable tour through US cities with friendly matches in controlled environments. He could have gone to Asia or Europe where they're received like rock stars and stadiums are full of Messi fans who just want photos. But no. He chose South America. He chose real pressure. He chose situations where Silvetti, Cremaschi, Redondo and company will have to prove whether they really learned the lessons or if they only function in Florida's comfortable bubble. It's a trial by fire before the official season starts. The new stadium. And Messi will be there, obviously, because this tour is also business for Apple TV, which broadcasts all Inter Miami matches. But Mascherano's instruction will be clear. The young players must be protagonists. They must take responsibilities. They must feel what it's like to play at Lima's Estadio Alejandro Villanueva with 50,000 Peruvians shouting at you, or at Medellin's Ateneo Girardot where the atmosphere is electric, or at Guayaquil's Monumental where heat and humidity suffocate you. Those experiences are worth more than 100 training sessions in perfect conditions. What comes after the tour is equally revealing about the project's real ambitions. The new Miami Freedom Park, Inter Miami's own stadium with capacity for 25,000 spectators, is scheduled to open mid-2026. It will be the first stadium specifically designed for Inter Miami, their true home after years playing in borrowed or adapted facilities. And the intention is for Messi to play the inaugural match, probably after returning from the World Cup, closing the circle of his contribution to the club. He arrived when they had nothing. He leaves behind an owned stadium and a winning structure. That stadium represents something more than infrastructure. It represents Inter Miami's consolidation as a serious institution, not as a temporary experiment to take advantage of Messi's final years. David Beckham, the owner who made all this possible with his initial arrival as a player and later as an investor, will have fulfilled his promise to build a football giant in the United States. And he'll have done it not just with money, but with a clear vision of how lasting projects are built. Signing the best possible star to give visibility, but using that visibility to build solid foundations that survive when that star leaves. The private moment. But this entire story, all this careful construction, all this legacy and process, is summarized in a specific moment that perfectly captures what this project is about. It occurred in the locker room after the MLS Cup final, when official cameras had already left and only the players, coaching staff and some close family members remained. According to multiple witnesses who were there but haven't given detailed official interviews, Messi asked for silence and called all the young players to the center of the locker room. Silvetti, Rios Novo, Aviles, Cremaschi, and several more. He put them in a circle, with Suarez beside him, and told them something none of them will ever forget. We don't have the exact textual quote because it was a private moment the club respected as such, but the essence of the message, according to what came through family members and close people, was something like, "This title is yours. We already won everything. We already fulfilled our dreams. We won this title so you know it's possible, so you feel how winning feels, so when we're not here you already know the path." And then, according to the same indirect testimonies, Suarez added something equally powerful. "Now you have the responsibility to teach those who come after." That's how this works. That's how you build something great. That moment defines everything. It defines why Suarez accepted the bench. It defines why Messi renewed through 2028 instead of retiring after the World Cup. It defines why Busquets and Alba chose to end their careers in Miami instead of returning to Europe for one last big contract. It defines why Mascherano makes unpopular decisions thinking about 2027 when he could focus only on winning today. Because everyone understands they're building something that transcends them. They're building a winning culture that's transmitted from generation to generation, where values of humility, work and collective are more important than any individuality. The ultimate legacy. And when Messi finally retires in 2028, after playing the 2026 World Cup with Argentina and inaugurating Miami Freedom Park with one last magical dance, he'll leave something much more valuable than records or titles. He'll leave an army of players who learned directly from him, who carry his playing philosophy in their DNA, who understand that football is bigger than any ego. He'll leave an Inter Miami prepared to win without him, to compete without depending on a single star, to develop their own stars instead of buying them already made. Mateo Silvetti will be 22 years old and will be, very probably, one of MLS's most sought-after forwards with offers from Europe knocking on his door. But before leaving, if he leaves, he'll have taught Inter Miami's youth forwards everything Suarez and Messi taught him. Benjamín Cremaschi will be the midfield brain, dictating matches' rhythm with the patience he learned from Busquets. Federico Redondo will have honored the surname he carries by building his own legend. And all of them, absolutely all, will know they're part of something special that began with Luis Suárez's gesture of humility in a December 2025 final. Legacy isn't what you win. Legacy is what you allow others to win after you. Inter Miami of 2030, 2032, 2035 will be a competitive team not by luck but by design. It will be the direct result of decisions made now, in this historic moment where the greatest legends of South American football decided to use their final years not just to shine once more, but to illuminate the path for those coming behind. That's what makes a club great. That's what transforms a team of stars into an institution. That's what Messi, Suarez, Mascherano, and everyone involved understood from day one, that their true triumph won't be measured in the trophies they win, but in the trophies won by the players they formed when they're no longer there. And if after hearing all this you don't understand why Inter Miami is the most fascinating project in world football right now, then you're simply not paying attention. Because what's coming in the next months will leave you speechless.